Hey guys, how you doing? Once again, it is Darren and Joe over at Urban Hillsides Real Estate with another edition of Real Estate Reality. Today, this week, it's about ADUs. Last week we talked about new ADU financing, right? ADU financing. And today we're talking about how you can sell separately your ADU. We found this in an LA Times article. Darren, any sort of intro you want to talk about before we get into the article?
Sure, absolutely. The first thing is last week we did get excited about ADUs does offer a true entry level purchase opportunity, and there all the elements seem to be falling into place with
Yeah.
um, the ability, the financing around ADUs just to build them, and now the ability to sell them separately. There's still some more
Yeah.
details to work through, but we want to get this info out there, and this will be a multi-segment conversation that will continue.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the news that just came out, I believe, October 14th. Still some settling to happen, but we're going to give you what we've got for now. Los Angeles Times title is A New Law Allows Homeowners to Sell ADUs Like Condos, Boosting Homeownership. Here's how AB 1033 works. All right. Accessory dwelling units, also referred to as ADUs and granny flats, have been available in California only as rentals, but a new law, Assembly Bill 1033, is giving Californians the opportunity to buy and sell them as condominiums. ADUs come in all shapes and sizes. For example, a converted garage, small home in the backyard, or as often seen in San Francisco, an unused portion of the main house, said Assemblyman Phil Ting. D. San Francisco, who drafted the legislation. Under AB 1033, which was signed into law this week, property owners in participating cities will be able to construct an ADU on their land and sell it separately, following the same rules that apply to condominiums. It gives homeowners more options for buildings on their property, and the hope is it would create more homeownership, said Ting. Under the new law, local governments need to opt in to the ADU as condominium approach for it to be an option in their cities. Here's how the new rules will work in participating cities. As with new condominiums, homeowners building ADUs must notify the local utilities, including water, sewer, gas, and electric, of the creation and separate conveyance of the unit. Each property will also have to form a homeowners association to assess dues to cover the cost of caring for the property's exterior and shared spaces, such as the driveway, a pool, or common roof. Similar to condominiums, on one property, the home and the ADU will have two separate property taxes, Ting said. He says he believes that many of the initial ADUs going through this process will be sold to the family members or close friends of the homeowner. And then as people are more comfortable with this and you see more ADUs being sold and it's more prevalent, then I could see this being more of a traditional real estate transaction. Meredith Stowers, a loan officer at Cross Country Mortgage in San Diego, who specializes in ADUs, and AB 1033 benefits both homeowners and new buyers. The typical homeowners we see are retirees who have long since paid off their mortgage, but are maybe living on a pittance of Social Security and meager retirement funds, she said. Under this law, the retirees can earn supplemental income and young families can buy an affordable starter home. Stowers said the problem that retirees are facing is that after so many years of loan modification in high rates, it doesn't make financial sense for the retiree to move out of their home. She argues it's more expensive for them to downsize to a smaller house, and this new piece of legislation opens opportunities for retirees to leverage the equity they've built up in their homes while also creating affordable housing. We're even seeing some retirees add ADUs in their backyard that they then move into, potentially selling off their home, she said. Selling ADUs as condominiums is having success in places such as Oregon, Texas, and Seattle. When Seattle removed regulatory barriers that discouraged property owners from constructing ADUs in 2019, the city issued nearly 1,000 ADU permits, more than 4 times the number permitted in 2018, according to a report released in March. The report also found that in 2022, the city permitted 437 attached ADUs and 551 detached ADUs, which it referred to as backyard cottages. Just under half were on sites with multiple ADUs, and 1/3 were part of a development that included a new single-family residence. Included in the report were sample sales for neighborhood residential parcels with detached ADUs, reporting that a unit of more than 1,000 square feet sold for an average of anywhere between 500 to 800,000. Well, there you go. Good opportunities there for a lot of people, it looks like.
Yeah, and the side of town that we cover a lot, and I think that's certainly expanding. I think we're on the cutting edge of new elements. We had a lot of new ADUs in our area when they first came out, and we
Mm-hmm.
probably have more than most communities at this point. Um, so there's going to be things to navigate. This
Yep.
reminded me of TICs, where on
And
a
that's tenant
TIC
in
scenario,
common,
right?
tenant in
Thanks for
common
pointing that out.
properties.
You can
Mm-hmm.
actually sell units separately. You can go get HOA docs prepared quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, an HOA doc is going to identify the specific use to each ownership, and then it's also going to identify common components and maintenance associated with it. It's reasonably easy. And somebody who's
Mm.
experienced in writing them, but somebody also then showing up on site to define those elements. Um, the difference and the step up from a TIC sale here is that you're getting a separate APM. There's a partition, not officially a lot line adjustment, which we've been reading a little more, which we'll get into in our next segment. But there's a division, a separate APN, and you no longer have that common tax bill. There is more of a separation as there typically is on a TIC. Like a condo has its own
Mm-hmm.
tax bill, its own connection. But it is common area living still. And I just think it's going to happen. That will become a whole new approach, even
Yeah.
for some people. I mean, the fact that you can even finance them, it might be an approach where somebody says, I can buy that house and just budget it, but I'm going to build an ADU and sell it. And
Right.
then it's going to
Yeah.
be way more within budget, all in one package coordinated. The one thing I will say, and this came into play under TICs, it won't be as complicated. TICs had very specific financing. I'll be curious to see how the financing related to ADU ownership evolves. But one thing
Mm-hmm.
that people hadn't thought of, which became an issue pretty consistently, was if you're going to do that, it not only will affect, you need a loan that's available to purchase the new ADU or the internal
Mm-hmm.
subdivision of the space, but then that also changes the structure of the existing loan because now that falls into that same category on a multi-unit environment where you have ownership of one section. So be aware of that. Usually this works really well for people who have low loan limits or, well below market value. Certainly.
Mm. Well, that's the thing, right? As we don't know, this does take a participating city. We'll see what LA does with it, see if they participate. And yeah, sounds like another department, another process, another program. I don't want to say bureaucracy, but yeah, right. And hopefully it gets fast tracked because it is good for everybody. I like some of the path of our subjects lately. We were talking about reverse mortgages about a month or so ago. This is giving older people, again, more choices to work with their equity in their homes and make that transition. I'm thinking of some clients of ours right now, right, and their older parents out in
Sure.
South Pasadena, how this
Yeah,
could work for them in the future.
this is real. These recent ones, particularly related to ADUs, and as you mentioned, Joe, reverse mortgage, are creating more affordable options for
Yeah,
people to live. And as you just mentioned, and they mentioned that article, even people in a bigger space. So we have a client who did what they mentioned there, and that is built an ADU and moved
mm-hmm.
into it,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
didn't sell the house but
yeah,
rented the house at that time.
yeah,
So that's very real. You can build something custom to exactly what you like, but then
yeah.
set it up so that you're going to be happy being there, and then sell the front primary house, which will
Yeah.
probably have more value than the new smaller ADU.
Well, great. All right. Well, guys, again, get ready for part 2 on that in the future, and we'll see you next week. Thanks so much for joining us today. Take care.
Bye.